I love Scooby-Doo. I've been a huge fan of Scooby-Doo ever since I was a kid growing up. Now that I'm 23 years old, born in 1996, I still love Scooby-Doo movies and TV shows to this day. One of my favorite Scooby-Doo movies was Scooby-Doo and the Witch's Ghost. This movie came out in 1999, and it was a sequel to Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island. What most of you don't know about Witch's Ghost is the fact that it was supposed to be 10 times more scarier than darker than Zombie Island. Now, I have happened to see a very dark version of Scooby-Doo and Witch's Ghost. It happened sometime last year in 2019, and here's how it all happened. I was on my Xbox One on the Microsoft Store, looking for something to do when I decided to buy something off the store. I saw a couple of games that I liked. There was Fortnite, Halo 5 Guardians, and other games that were for Xbox One. When I noticed that the Microsoft Store has movies I never bought. I've never bought a movie from Xbox One before, so I thought I would give it a shot. I scrolled through the movies on the Microsoft Store and found Scooby-Doo and the Witch's Ghost. I sighed that I was having a nostalgic moment. I noticed that there was a copy of the movie with a different cover. The copy of this movie said Scooby-Doo and Witch's Ghost 1998. I was confused as all hell. How would Scooby-Doo and the Witch's Ghost come out in 1998? I then remembered that the Scooby-Doo and Witch's Ghost is a sequel to Zombie Island, and when Zombie Island was finished, the production of Scooby-Doo and Witch's Ghost started at around sometime in 1998, and then it was released on October 5, 1999. I bought the movie from the Microsoft Store, and it only cost me $10. That was a very good price, I'll say. I bought the movie as I grabbed a snack and a can of Pepsi. I got back to my bedroom to watch this weird and interesting 1998 version of Scooby-Doo and Witch's Ghost. The cover had Scooby, Shaggy, Velma, Daphne, Fred, the Hex Girls, and even Ben Ravencroft on the front, with the Witch's Ghost, of course. The movie started with Scooby and the gang in the museum solving a mystery, common scenario within every Scooby-Doo movie. The theme song started playing as soon as Shaggy and Scooby were being chased by people wearing masks. As the theme song ended, the gang always wins the mystery of people behind the costumes. A man steps out from a large rug to greet Scooby and the gang. Since they never seen him before, they have no idea who he was. Velma, however, recognized who this man was. I don't believe it. You're Ben Ravencroft, the famous horror writer, Velma pointed out. That's right, Ben Ravencroft replied as he walked over to the two officers holding the two ghosts, which had people hiding behind the mask. Let's see who they are. Ben pulled off the masks of the villains who tried to scare people away. We would have gone away with it if it wasn't for that meddling writer, one of the men said to Ben. The gang was surprised at this. At least they didn't call us kids, Fred said to Shaggy. I hate that so much. Fred then asked Ben Ravencroft on what he was doing in the museum. I'm doing research on my next novel, Ben explained. When I saw these people acting strange, I had to find out. Velma then explains to Ben that she's a huge fan of his novels and that she has read them. I know you, Fred, Daphne, and Shaggy, and Scooby, of course. Ben also went on, talking about that he has heard of the mystery, incorporated solving mysteries. Ben tells Velma that he'll be going back to Massachusetts this weekend, and explains that he comes back every fall. He invites the gang to come along. Really? Velma asked with excitement in her tone. We could sure use a break from solving creepy old mysteries, Daphne added. When Ben mentioned the best food, Shaggy and Scooby were all excited because they're obviously always excited over food, of course. So far, the 1998 version of the movie was in great quality. The gang drove down to a town called Oak Haven, which is in Massachusetts. When the gang gets to Oak Haven, Ben, along with Scooby and the gang, was surprised to see that the town square was very busy. It looked like something was going on. Ben, along with Scooby and the gang, got out of their vehicles. to see the mayor of Oak Haven. Ben, my boy, I'm glad you can come home to see this. Mayor Cordy welcomed Ben along with Scooby and the gang. The mayor also explained that an autumn fest was going in town. Hey Ben, an old man's voice was heard. He sounded like he was in his mid to late 50s. Hi Mr. McKnight, Ben said to the pharmacist. He handed Ben a t-shirt. Welcome home. We have a t-shirt before my store sells out. You can wear them to the concert tomorrow, Mr. McKnight replied. The Hex Girls, Fred added. You've heard of them, Fred? Daphne asked. Fred pointed at a banner saying about the concert featuring the Hex Girls. Ben looked at the t-shirt he got from Mr. McKnight. The writing on the t-shirt was a bit disturbing. The shirt read, and I quote, I met the ghost of Oak Haven and died. What the hell? I asked myself. Why would a teacher mention that in a kid's film? Well, can't argue on this one. It is a 1998 version of the movie, so I expected some more dark stuff. Velma then starts talking to Ben, saying that there's a ghost in his backyard. It's his own ancestor, the ghost of Sarah Ravencroft, Mayor Corey replied to Velma, and this made Ben really mad. That's stupid, Ben said. I thought we got through this. Mayor then goes on and explains about the ghosts haunting the place. The game replies that they do ghost hunting. The gang was on a tour about how the village from the 60s looked like. It was interesting to see Scooby and the gang interact with certain things about what life was like years ago. The mayor goes on more about Sarah being a witch, but Ben defends himself, saying that Sarah was a healer and not an evil witch. Scooby was digging near a tree stump and found what seemed to be a show buckle. Shaggy asked Scooby where he found it. No, Scooby replied. The gang talks about the ghost of Sarah Ravencroft. The mayor explained that her spirit was disturbed when the town did construction. You'll see her tonight, Mayor replied. Then Shaggy and Scooby's stomach started growling. We'd like to see a pizza joint. We're starved, Shaggy said as Scooby agreed. Mayor walked Shaggy and Scooby to the restaurant, while Velma, Daphne, and Fred went with Ben to a studio. The screen transitioned to the restaurant, where Shaggy and Scooby were ordering pretty much everything from the restaurant. Order anything from the menu, boys, a waiter/owner said as he handed 2 menus to Shaggy and Scooby. After hearing the food that Jack mentioned, Shaggy and Scooby were drooling. Give us 2 orders of everything, Shaggy said as the scene then transitions to Ben Ravencroft's studio, where Velma, Daphne, and Fred were looking around. Whose portrait is this? Fred asked. This is Sarah Ravencroft. She's a Wiccan, Ben replied. I think a patient painted her image. Ben then explained to Fred, Daphne, and Velma their history of Sarah Ravencroft, of what she did as a Wiccan. She mainly cured patients who couldn't afford medical treatment. She had a journal that she kept and it has all the patients cured is written in the book. Wiccans can have been accused of witchcraft. In fact, Wiccan comes from Wicca. Velma explained as Ben was impressed by Velma's smarts. The next scene transitions to Shaggy and Scooby eating the food in the restaurant. They were getting really fat, as they usually do when it comes to eating food. How's the food? Daphne asked as Shaggy gulped down his food. Pretty darn good, Shaggy replied as the owner of the restaurant left to go to the market. Fred had an idea. Come on, gang, let's go see if that ghost is gonna make its appearance, Fred said, but Shaggy and Scooby refused. We love to, but we haven't had our dessert yet, Shaggy said. Rah, Scooby replied. The next scene shows Puritane Village, where Velma, Fred, Daphne, and Ben were all waiting for the ghost to appear. But after a while of waiting, no ghost showed up. But then Ben then explains to Velma that he wanted to know where the ghost hid her journal. Boy, Daphne said. Ben's obsessed with that book, Fred nodded in agreement. We should all leave too, Ben said, but Velma looked at Ben. She and the gang didn't want to give up just yet. Give it a chance, Ben, Velma replied as Fred and Daphne both agreed. The next scene shows Shaggy and Scooby leaving the restaurant with huge bellies. They were walking down the quiet street. I was really wondering on what this 1998 version of the movie is different than the 1999 version. Well, sooner or later, I was bound to find out. Scooby and Shaggy then looked in one of the alleyways to see 3 girls walking towards them. Like, hi girls, Shaggy said as he and Scooby both looked their best towards the girls. Hi, all 3 of the girls said. The vampires and Shaggy and Scooby just lost their mind. They ran down the road for a few minutes, but stopped to catch their breath. But all of a sudden, a fireball was fired at Shaggy and Scooby, followed by an evil laugh coming from a wicked witch. This town should pay for what they did to me. So the wicked witch cackled as she chased Shaggy and Scooby down the road until they bumped into Ben, Velma, Daphne, and Fred. What's going on, guys? Velma asked. Witch's roast, Scooby explained to Velma. You saw the witch's ghost? Velma asked Scooby as he and Shaggy both nodded. Can you show us where you saw her? Fred asked as he heard groaning from Daphne, who he sat on. Can you at least get off of me, Freddy? Daphne asked as Fred helped Daphne up. Sorry, Daph, Fred replied as Shaggy and Scooby showed their friends and Ben on what street the witch chased them on. Fred and Daphne noticed some of the branches. They're from a set of trees were broken. They looked up to see a straight line across them. Soon the gang can hear hard rock music in the distance. The gang wonders what it could be. Let's go see, Velma said as the gang walked through the forest. Shaggy and Scooby, who were hiding in the bushes, moved the bushes around to see a stage where the concert will be held. Hi, it's sisters, a voice from the lead singer said as she hissed on a screen. Zoinks! Shaggy shrieked. It's the witches! Easy, guys, it's just the Hex Girls, Fred said to Shaggy and Scooby. The Hex Girls were performing one of their songs on the screen. The song was called Hex Girl, and the song was in great quality. After the song was finished, Scooby and the gang clapped for the Hex Girls. They noticed that Scooby and the gang, along with Ben, had been watching them. Thanks, but what are you doing here? The lead singer asked. She was playing the guitar. The concert's tomorrow, replied one of the backup singers. She played the drums. Wait a minute, said another backup singer. She played the keyboard. Aren't you Ben Ravencroft? Yeah, why? Ben chuckled. You aren't gonna bite me, are you? Cool, I've always wanted to meet you. The Hex-Girls jumped off the stage to meet Scooby and the gang. You're like one of us, the lead singer continued. Yeah, you understand that we're into, one of the backup singers added. Shaggy and Scooby both shrugged as one of the backup singers turned around. She had blonde hair, wearing a green dress with green lipstick. She gave Shaggy and Scooby a creepy smile. It's sort of like, I want to kill you look. Hi, she said as Shaggy and Scooby got chills down their spines. So your names are... Fred was then cut off by the lead singer of the Hex Girls. Dorn said, introducing herself. This is Dusk and Luna. We're Echo Goths, Dorn explained. It's been nice meeting you all. We gotta get back to rehearsal. As the gang walked away from the stage, Fred looked at the gang. Those Hex Girls seem strange, Fred said. Velma nodded in agreement. Daph and I should go follow them. Why would you always pair up with Daphne? Velma asked Fred. He didn't know what to say after Velma asked that question. He blushed at the thought. Velma and Ben got off to search a barn after following the tire tracks, while Shaggy and Scooby followed Mayor Corey in Oak Haven. The next scene transitions to Daphne and Fred in the woods. Daphne asked Fred on why he pairs up with her. Fred began to explain when he and Daphne heard the Hex Girls walking down the path. They both ended up hiding in the bushes as they watched the Hex Girls walk by. I think we'll have to go perform our ritual, girls, Dorn said to her girlfriends. Not tonight, Dorn, Dusk explained. I'm so tired from practicing, Dusk yawned along with Luna. Me too. How about tomorrow, just before the concert? Luna suggested. Fine, I'll do it myself, Dorn said, but the thing is that her tone of voice sounded different. It sounded like she wanted to hit someone. Fred and Daphne looked up to see Thorn walking away from her friends. Thorn seems to be the leader. Let's follow her, Fred said. Daphne agreed, and I can hear a soft crying from Thorn. I can barely hear it, so she was muttering something under her breath, but I can't understand what she is saying. The next scene shows Shaggy and Scooby following the mare, and there were close calls on almost being caught. Another scene appears with Velma and Ben inside the barn. The truck's still warm, Velma said to Ben. He then asked Velma on who would drive it very late at night. That's the mystery, Velma replied as the scene cuts to Thorn. Walking towards what seems to be her house, she walked inside while muttering to herself and even silently crying. Daphne and Fred followed Thorn to her backyard. Then Thorn walked inside her shed. Daphne and Fred crouched down near a window to the shed. The scene shows Thorn inside the shed. She was crying as she was doing her ritual. She had a bowl mixing some herbs and stuff. I paused the movie to see something silver. I happened to see that there was a blade, and it appeared to be a razor blade. I was starting to get confused about this beta version of this movie. Like, why the hell would there be a razor blade? I guess Thorn was doing self-harming. That just made me confused. Why would a kids movie have self-harm stuff? Like, I know kids movies will have dark topics, but I didn't expect this. This was too much. But I brushed it off. Daphne and Fred looked at each other. They were confused. Did you see what I saw? Fred asked Daphne. If I didn't know better, I'd say she's a witch, Daphne replied. But what is she doing now? Daphne and Fred watched Thorn inhale loudly, and then she puts down the bowl and grabs the razor blade. Why? Thorn started to whimper as she held the razor blade close to her arm. Why did you leave us, Daddy? Thorn saw that she began to cut herself. Luckily, we don't see her cutting herself to draw blood. Is she doing self-harm? Fred asked Daphne. Fred, this is serious, Daphne replied. We need to get her some help. If we find out who her parents are, then they'll sure do something, Fred said to Daphne. The next scene transitions to Shaggy and Scooby. Following the mare for some reason, he disappears when he walks inside the barn. Shaggy and Scooby walked inside the barn. Then they saw the witch ghost again. How dare you disturb my resting place, the witch's ghost said in anger. This hell should pay. With that being said, I never expected a kids movie to have mild swearing, but I brushed it off and continued watching. Shaggy and Scooby ran out of the barn as they ran into the gang. We followed the mare inside, Shaggy explained to the gang. They all nodded. Velma gave the gang her explanation on what's going on. Then Fred and Daphne both explained that Thorn was harming herself, was cutting herself with a razor blade. We need to get her help, Velma said. But did her friends stop her? Nope, Fred replied. She was alone. Daphne and I were going to stop her, but we decided that we would tell her parents. Where did you see the ghost? Velma asked as the scene transitions to the barn again. The whole gang were inside the barn. Velma had gathered the gang and talked into a plan. The next scene shows Shaggy and Scooby, along with Velma on the stage. Scooby started to play the drums as Shaggy was playing the keyboard. Dusk shows up near her drums, seeing Scooby playing on them. Hey! She scowled. Scooby stopped what he was doing and hid under a blanket. Like, why did you stop, buddy? Shaggy asked as he stopped playing when Luna tapped Shaggy from behind him. No one ever touches my keyboard, Luna said as Shaggy chuckled nervously and hides with Scooby. Thanks for coming, girls, Velma said to the Hex Girls. We should all be having our rest before the concert tomorrow, Thorn explained. She did sound tired and rather grouchy. We only came here because Ben asked us to. Hey, Ben called out. Just following orders. As the Hex Girls started asking Velma questions. A cool, chilling wind blew in the air as the ghost witch appeared and started to throw fireballs at them down below. The town shall pay for its full deed, the witch's ghost screeched. The chase went on until Fred lets go of a tree branch and hits the witch's ghost down and onto a metal soccer net. Okay, let's see who's behind all of this. Fred pulled out the witch's ghost mask to reveal Mr. McKnight. Mr. McKnight? Daphne was surprised. The ex-girls walked towards the commotion. Then Dawn had a look of surprise in her eyes. Daddy? Dawn asked as she crouched down to her father's level. Hello, Sally, Mr. McKnight said nervously. Your dad's the ghost? Luna asked Dawn. Your name is Sally? Fred asked as well. What the hell, Daddy? Dawn asked her father. She did have a tad bit of anger in her voice. Why would you do something like this? Now, mild swearing in kids' movies don't really offend me. I know it's a rarity, but I let it slide after all. It is a beta version of the movie after all. The game rounds up the clues to the witch's ghost, and as they soon found out why they were doing this, they were trying to drag Sarah Ravencroft's name through Ben's nerves, and Ben was really pissed off with the mirror. And Mr. McKnight, the scene transitions to the inside of Ben's house. Hextrolls were looking at the picture of Sarah Ravencroft painting. So she was a real Wiccan? Luna asked. That's right, Ben replied. So cool, Dusk said in amazement. She's beautiful, Thorn added. Yes, I think so too, Ben replied. He then sighed. And I get so upset when people say she's a fucking witch. I think we owe you girls an apology for thinking you were... Fred stopped for a moment. Well, witches, Daphne finished. We saw you performing some ritual in your shed, and Daphne stopped. We also saw one of your girls harming yourself. Oh, that? Dusk asked in confusion. What do you mean self-harming? We saw this. Daphne showed the ex-girls a razor blade covered in blood. Thorn's face went into shock. I've been self-harming since I was 16 years old, Thorn explained, after my mother died in a tragic car accident. I've been unhappy since. Why didn't you tell us? Luna asked Thorn. Thorn started to cry. I didn't know what else to do. Thorn then sobbed into Luna's arms. Luna hugged Thorn and looked at Fred and Daphne. Thanks for telling us. Excuse me. Dusk said to Fred and Daphne. We're going to tell our father everything. And we're going to get Thorn the help she needs. Dusk then dried Thorn's tears away from her eyes. About witches, we only pretended that stuff. It's just a gimmick for our band. We're kind of like Wiccans, Luna added. Just ask Thorn, she is one. Luna then turned to Thorn. Promise me that you won't do self-harm to yourself again. I promise. Thorn replied as she cried at the last bit of her tears. 1/16th blood from my mother's side, and what you saw was peppermint and cloves. They smooth in my vocal cords. You think it's easy saying this stuff? Thorn then chuckled at the end. Thorn's verbal vaping is cool, Dusk added. We use it before and after every show. What about your fangs? Shaggy asked. Now, from the movie, I do know very well the fangs were fake, but in this beta version of the movie, the Hex Girls were real vampires. We've been vampires ever since we were in our early teens, Luna explained. I think it is some mutations or something. You don't scare us anymore, at least, Shaggy chuckled. Then the mayor and Mr. McKnight walked in and said to Ben that they were sorry for being a pain in his ass about Sarah Ravencroft. Then Shaggy mentioned the shoe buckle Scooby found earlier in the movie. Scooby, can you show us where you found this? Velma asked. I think so, Scooby replied. The scene then fades to the old oak tree, where Scooby shows the gang where he found the old shoe buckle. Scooby then digs a hole near the oak tree, only to pull out an old box. Ben takes the box and opened it, and inside the box was an evil book. Ben, Velma said in shock, that's no journal at all. After that being said, shit started to hit the fan. Because it isn't, Velma. It's a spell book, Ben said evilly, as he betrays the gang, including the Hex Girls and even Mayor Cordy and Mr. McKnight. Ben opened the spellbook to release Sarah when Mr. McKnight and the mayor were running away. Leaving so soon, are we? Ben pulled out a gun. It looked like a revolver and fired a shot at Mr. McKnight. The sound of the shotgun scared the crap out of me. But where did that gun come from? From that, I had no idea where the hell that gun came from. From the beginning with this. Mr. McKnight was shot through the shoulder, which he fell and cried out in pain. The mayor was shot in the leg, which he was groaning in pain from it as well. "Daddy!" Dawn shouted as she and her friends raced to aid her father. Ben all of a sudden used his magic, and the Hex Girls were all thrown in the air. They crashed into a wall, knocking all three of them out. Ben then released Sarah Ravencroft's ghost after saying his spell to bring back to life. "Who are you?" the ghost asked Ben. "Ben Ravencroft, your descendant," Ben said. He had started a conversation with Sarah of all of a sudden they got in an argument. I had no idea what the argument was about. But since the conversation sounded like they were talking in another language, for all I know. So Sarah trapped Ben in a green bubble, and when the gang were all trying to get the book, Daphne and Fred decided to distract Sarah. "For 100 years, you can't live that long," Fred called out as he and Daphne began to run. "That's it," Sarah growled as she summoned two werewolves to chase Fred and Daphne. Velma was being chased by Pumpkin that crashed into the tree. Shaggy and Scooby got the spell books. Sarah then turned into the turkey. "Kill them!" Sarah screamed. She then transformed the turkey into a hyena, started to run after Shaggy and Scooby. A werewolf jumped on Daphne and started to attack her. Fred noticed Daphne's cries for help as she was trying to keep the beast from attacking her. The werewolf then bites off Daphne's arm, causing Daphne to scream in pain. Fred all of a sudden was being attacked by a werewolf. Fred screams in terror along with Daphne. Dawn then slowly opened her eyes and when woke up, she saw Daphne and Fred in danger along with the others. She walked into the battlefield. The werewolves both looked at Dawn. Dusk and Luna had also woken up as they looked at everyone. "You want to play rough?" Dawn growled. "Well then let's play!" Dawn lunged at the werewolf and bites one, attacking Daphne by its neck. The werewolf groaned in pain as Dawn grabbed its fur and the werewolf runs off onto the road. She lets the werewolf go as the truck was driving really fast. The truck hit the werewolf, but we don't see it, thankfully. Luna and Dusk were attacking the other werewolf that was attacking Fred. Then Dawn bites its jaguar in its neck. The werewolf then dies seconds after, and Fred and Daphne got free. Shaggy and Scooby were running around with the books, only to try not to have Sarah getting it. "Dawn, I need you," Velma said as she placed her hand on Dawn's shoulder. "Me? What the heck can I do?" Dawn asked. "You're a wig hand," Velma explained. "We need you to read the spell. It's the only way to defeat Sarah." Are you fucking crazy? "I told you I'm not really a witch," Dawn replied. I was surprised that this beta movie had some violence in it, as the original film that I do know didn't do that crazy at it. "You still can. You still have Wiccan blood. You can read the spell," Velma said. "You don't have the book," Dawn said. "Scooby does," Velma replied as Shaggy and Scooby were trying to pass the book to Velma when Shaggy was being held by a zombie that jumped on Shaggy. It caused Shaggy to drop the book. Scooby took the book to run to Velma. The zombie was luring Shaggy away from the book when he jumped on Shaggy's upper body, like a jockey from Left 4 Dead 2 would do. "Shoot this thing," Shaggy cried as Dawn noticed Ben's revolver on the ground. She picks up the revolver and aims the gun at the zombie. She then shoots the zombie in the head, causing him to let Shaggy go. Sarah was now getting really mad. "I had enough," Sarah screamed as she makes a tree comes to life. It grabs Shaggy as he throws the book at Daphne, and Daphne catches it. As Daphne was about to run, zombie hands grab her legs. Daphne runs up to her and takes the book, only to have his legs paralyzed. "Velma," he tossed the book over to Velma. who caught it and handed back the book to Thorn. "Read it quickly," Velma said as Thorn opened the book. She began to read the spell. Sarah was so pissed that she charged to Velma and Thorn. "Ancient evil, get the death. Only good can represent. For the misdeeds you have done, which return from what you've become." With Thorn's spell being said, all the monsters holding the gang back disappeared. "Thorn, it's working," Velma said as the book began to disappear. Sarah was in prison back in her own book. Ben Ravencroft was free, but he was stunned. Sarah didn't drag him into her spellbook in this beta version of the movie. Daphne and Velma burns the spellbook. Ben's last book is one the world will never buy, Velma commented. "Thank goodness," Daphne added. Luna, along with the assist Mayor, Cordy, and Thorn, rushed over to her father's side, who had a bullet that went through his shoulder. "Daddy, look at me," Thorn said to her father. We're gonna get help." "Sally?" Mr. McKnight asked his daughter weakly. "Yes?" Thorn asked. She was having tears in her eyes. "I'm sorry for not telling you that I was self-harming myself." It's alright, Sally. Just don't do it again," Mr. McKnight said weakly as he coughed. "No, Daddy, don't do this," Sally said, with tears swelled up in her eyes. "I'll be okay," Mr. McKnight said. "I'm not going to die, Sally." "Oh, thank goodness. But you're bleeding," Thorn said to her father. She then turned to Ben Ravencroft. She pulled out the gun that she had earlier. She cocked the safety off and pointed the gun at Ben. "Look, I'm really sorry," Ben pleaded, but Sally scowled. "Ha, you ain't getting away with that. You almost killed my father," Thorn growled as she pointed the gun at Ben's head. "Don't you ever come near me, my friend, or my family ever again," Thorn said as she shot Ben. As a loud gunshot was heard, but we don't see Ben getting shot, thank God. Help's on its way," Luna said as Thorn's father was taken to the hospital. The next scene transitions to the concert where the Hex Girls were performing. We can see Thorn's father in a bandage on his shoulder. He was enjoying the concert. Scooby and the gang joined in performing with Hex Girls, and then the credits rolled after that. After watching the film, I was amazed. This early version of the movie was better, but you may be asking, why did it not make it to a final project? Here's my answer. By reading a review on the comments on the Microsoft Store. The review was 5 out of 5 stars. Here's what the review says. This version of the movie was amazing, even though it did mention dark topics and mild swearing, such as self-harm and violence. Ben Ravencroft was going to own a gun, but when the final project was made, they took the gun and other dark scenes away, just for the sake of not wanting to scare kids or anyone. After reading that comment, I scrolled through to see if there was more, but there wasn't any more comments, so I found out the real reason. This beta version of the movie was too dark for kids, and it's why Scooby and the Witch's Ghost didn't come out in 1988. I still have the movie from Microsoft Store, but due to copyright reasons, I can't upload this beta movie on YouTube or other video sharing sites. If you want to see this beta version of Scooby-Doo and the Witch's Ghost, I don't think it'll be the best idea if I let you see it.